Something that took years of working directly with couples to fully understand is this. Most men walk into relationships genuinely believing they know what their partner needs from them, and most of them are mistaken. Not because they don't love her, not because they aren't trying, but because no one ever laid it out plainly. There's no roadmap for this, no class, no conversation, no honest guide that explains how a woman actually experiences connection. And to make it even more complicated, most women never say it out loud, even when they feel it with everything they have. After more than 2 decades working as a relationship psychologist, sitting across from thousands of couples from coast to coast, from young partners just starting out to people in their 60s and 70s who've shared a life for 40 years and somehow still feel like they're sleeping next to a stranger, one thing has become crystal clear. There are men everywhere who desperately want to reconnect with their partners. They want to reach her. They just don't know how anymore. That changes today, because in the next few minutes, 7 specific places on a woman's body are going to be explained in a way that probably no one has ever explained them to you before. And before you assume you know where this is going, stop. Because none of these 7 places are what you're thinking, not one of them. Before getting into it, there's something you need to understand first. The female brain does not process physical touch and emotional meaning as 2 separate things. They are one and the same. For a woman, particularly a woman in her 40s, 50s, or 60s, touch is never a purely physical event. Every single time you reach out and make contact with her, her nervous system is running a background check. It's asking, am I safe right now? Does he actually see me? Does this mean something to him? If the answer that comes back is yes, her entire body softens. She opens up. She moves toward you. If the answer is no, or even just uncertain, she pulls away. Not because the love is gone, but because her body is doing exactly what it was built to do, which is protect her emotional self above everything else. This comes up again and again in session after session. One woman, married for 31 years, put it in a way that has never been forgotten. She said she didn't need her husband to be flawless. She just needed him to slow down enough to actually feel her, not just touch her, feel her. That one sentence contains the entire lesson. So here are the 7 places and 7 real opportunities to fundamentally change the way your partner responds to you. The first is the back of the neck, right at the base where the hairline begins. This is one of the most overlooked spots on a woman's body, and it's where tension lives. After a long day of holding everything together, the stress from work, family, and the endless mental load of life, it all settles right there. When a woman is worn down or emotionally distant, that's where her body holds it. The approach here is not a massage. It's not an attempt to fix anything. It's simply 2 or 3 fingertips moving slowly with barely any pressure, just warmth, just presence. When you do this, something real happens at a chemical level. Her nervous system begins to downshift. Her breathing slows. The cortisol, the hormone her body produces under stress, begins to ease. And in its place, oxytocin starts to rise. Oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone or the trust hormone, and this spot at the back of the neck is one of the fastest ways to activate it. She may not say anything, she might just go quiet or lean into it slightly. That stillness isn't absence. That's her body saying yes. The second place is the soft skin between her shoulder blades. Think of this area as the part of her back she can never quite reach herself. It's the place that carries weight that has no name. When a woman has built walls, whether consciously or not, those walls often live right here in the body. This isn't about applying pressure or working out knots. It's about something far simpler and far more powerful. Just placing a hand there. Flat, warm, completely still. No agenda, no direction. When you do that, you're not just touching her back. You're communicating something that words rarely manage to say cleanly. I've got you. I'm not going anywhere. You don't have to carry all of this by yourself. There was a couple, both in their early 60s, both retired, spending their days in the same house and somehow feeling like they were living parallel lives rather than a shared one. The husband began doing one simple thing each evening while his wife stood in the kitchen after dinner. He would walk up behind her and rest his hand between her shoulder blades. No words, no expectation, just presence. 3 weeks later, she said she didn't know exactly what had shifted, but she felt like he was actually there with her again. That's what this spot can do. The third place is the hands, and more specifically, the fingers and the palm. Before you dismiss this, understand that there is a profound difference between grabbing someone's hand and truly holding it. There is a world of difference between a quick squeeze and slowly tracing your thumb across her palm. A woman's hands are connected to her emotional life in a deep way. Her hands are how she gives, how she creates, how she expresses love. When you hold them with real attention, she feels understood in a way that bypasses the mind entirely and goes straight to the heart. The next time you're sitting together, watching something, drinking coffee, it doesn't matter. Take her hand and instead of simply holding it, use your thumb to slowly trace along each of her fingers one by one, or draw quiet, unhurried circles in her palm. Research from McGill University has shown that slow, deliberate touch on the hands activates the same neural pathways as verbal emotional affirmation. In plain language, holding her hand with thoughtfulness tells her she matters just as clearly as saying it out loud. Your hands can do the talking. The fourth place is the small hollow just beneath the jawline, directly behind the ear. This one surprises people every time it comes up. It's not a spot most men ever think about. It's subtle, easy to pass right by, and that's precisely why it carries so much power. This area is extraordinarily sensitive, dense with nerve endings, and it's also a place that only gets touched when there is genuine closeness. Reaching it requires you to be near her, present, focused completely on her, rather than on where things might be heading. When you're sitting close and you gently brush your fingertips along this spot without pressure, just warmth, two things happen at once. There's a physical response, a wave of calm that moves through her body. And there's an emotional signal being sent at the same time. I notice the small things about you. I'm paying attention to you specifically. Women experience this kind of touch differently than almost any other. It doesn't feel like pressure. It doesn't feel like a lead-up to something else. It feels like being truly seen. And being truly seen is one of the most fundamental needs a woman carries in a long-term relationship. One important note here: if she doesn't lean in immediately, don't push. This spot requires trust. If trust is still being rebuilt between you, patience is the only path. As your presence becomes more consistent over time, she will. The fifth place is the inner thigh, near the knee, well away from any intimate area. The placement here is everything, so this needs to be said clearly. This is the soft skin on the inside of the leg, close to the knee. That's it. Not higher, not rushing anywhere. This area holds a surprising amount of emotional weight for women, often without them being consciously aware of it. A respectful, unhurried touch here communicates something very specific: closeness without pressure, desire without demand. The key is rhythm. Slow, steady, as if there is nowhere else to be and nothing else to get to, as if this moment is entirely complete in itself. Women have described this kind of touch, when it's done with patience and genuine care, as feeling more intimate than almost anything else their partner had done in years. Because of what it says without saying anything: I want to be near you. I'm not rushing you. I'm simply here. In a long-term relationship, especially as the years add up, that message can feel like relief. The sixth place is the lower back, that curved hollow between the waist and the hips. The lower back is the physical center of a woman's body. It holds up everything. It supports everything. And in most relationships, it goes almost entirely untouched. When you place your hand gently on a woman's lower back, particularly when you're standing behind her with your chest meeting her back, something remarkable happens neurologically. The brain reads that position as protection, as stability, as someone saying without a single word, I am behind you, literally and in every other sense. This isn't about control, it's about the kind of containment that makes a person feel safe enough to finally let their guard down. Think about the last time you stood close to your partner from behind and just rested your hand on her lower back, not going anywhere with it, just there. If you can't remember when that last happened, that's worth sitting with. Try it this week, not as a tactic, as a genuine expression of being present. Stand close, place your hand there, breathe, let her feel that you're not in a hurry, not trying to steer things somewhere, that simply being near her is enough for you right now. The seventh place is the most unexpected one, and it is not what most men anticipate. It's not the chest, it's the lower abdomen, the area around and just below the navel. This is the most emotionally significant place on a woman's body, and it's also the most consistently overlooked. Men tend to either skip past it entirely or only ever touch it as a signal that they're heading somewhere else. Both of those are missed opportunities. The lower abdomen is where a woman holds her deepest sense of self. The neuroscience here is real. This area has a dense concentration of vagal nerve connections, meaning it is directly wired into the body's emotional regulation system. When it's touched with genuine care and without any sense of urgency, the experience isn't just physical, it feels like being held at the very core of who she is. The image that works best for this: imagine holding something irreplaceable, something fragile and precious. You wouldn't grab it, you wouldn't rush, you would move slowly, with both hands, with complete attention. That is exactly how to approach this place. A warm hand placed gently, with zero urgency, on her lower abdomen sends a message that words rarely accomplish on their own. It says, "I trust you with all of me, and I hope you trust me with all of you." When a woman feels that, her whole body responds, not because of technique, because of truth. Now let's bring all of it together. 7 places: the back of the neck, the space between the shoulder blades, the hands, the hollow behind the ear, the inner thigh near the knee, the lower back, and the lower abdomen. None of these are secrets. None of them are complicated, but the honest truth is that most men are not using them, at least not with the intention and the slowness they deserve. And here's why that matters so much. As relationships grow longer, something strange and quiet tends to happen. People stop reaching out, not because the love has disappeared, but because the routine takes over, because there's an assumption that the partner already knows, because exhaustion sets in, or distraction, or simply forgetting that the small gestures are actually the ones that carry the most weight. But women feel that absence. They feel it in their bodies before they can even name it in their minds. They wake up one day and realize they feel lonely, not because their partner isn't physically there, but because he stopped touching them, stopped noticing them, stopped communicating through the quiet physical language of presence. There was a man, 67 years old, retired, whose wife had been pulling away for nearly 2 years. He came in convinced that the relationship had simply run its course, that maybe this was just what happened after enough time. One question was put to him: when was the last time you touched her without wanting anything in return? He sat with it for a long moment. Then he said he couldn't remember. That was the whole answer. After talking through these 7 places, he went home and started small, just a hand resting on the back of her neck while she was reading. Nothing more. No words, no follow-through, no agenda. She looked up at him, and for the first time in a very long time, she smiled at him the way she used to. 2 months later, he came back and said she had told him the week before that it felt like he had come back to her. And honestly, he said he thought he had too. That is not a trick. That is not magic. That is simply the power of consistent, intentional, respectful physical presence. Here is what all of this comes down to. The problem in most long-term relationships is not a lack of love. It's a lack of language, not spoken language, the language of touch, slow, unhurried, genuine contact that says, "I see you. I'm here. You matter to me." Women, especially women in midlife and beyond, do not respond to urgency. They respond to attention. They respond to being noticed in the details. They respond to a hand that moves as if it has all the time in the world, because being with her is the destination, not the starting point, and the research consistently backs this up. Women have, on average, significantly more sensitive skin nerve receptors than men, particularly in the areas covered here: the neck, behind the ear, the fingers, the lower abdomen. These zones are not just physically responsive, they are emotionally wired. Touch in these areas triggers oxytocin release, yes, but more than that, it creates a felt sense of safety, and safety is the foundation of intimacy. You cannot have one without the other. A study from the University of British Columbia looked at touch patterns in long-term couples and found that those who maintained regular non-sexual physical contact, the kind that wasn't leading anywhere, just present and caring, reported significantly higher levels of emotional connection and relationship satisfaction, even when other areas of their relationship had real challenges. The couples who had stopped that kind of contact consistently described feeling like roommates. Don't be roommates with the person you love. So here is where to start. Tonight, if your partner is nearby, walk up to her and place your hand on the back of her neck. Don't say anything. Don't expect anything in return. Just let your hand be warm and still. See what happens. Tomorrow, try the lower back. Or take her hand and hold it slowly, deliberately, like you actually mean it. These are not techniques. They are expressions of care. And the difference between a technique and an expression of care is everything, because she will feel the difference the moment it happens. Women always do. The warmth in your hands is sometimes worth more than 1,000 well-meaning words. The touch that carries no agenda, that asks for nothing, that simply says, "I'm here and you're the reason," that kind of touch has the power to bring someone back to you, to bring you both back to each other. It is never too late to begin. Couples in their 70s have completely transformed their relationship with shifts this simple. Women who had emotionally checked out have started leaning back in. Men who were certain it was too late discovered it wasn't even close. If you're here, if you're reading this, that already says something about who you are. You want to understand. You want your relationship to feel alive again, and it can. It will if you're willing to slow down, show up, and let your hands say what your words sometimes cannot. Take care of each other. That's the whole thing.